Hello, my name is Alice Bagley from City Commons Cooperative. I'm going to throw a slideshow up just a second. Mostly doing this just to keep me on track.
How's the volume for everyone? Too loud? Okay.
Okay, so City Commons Cooperative is a multi-farm CSA located here in Detroit, Michigan. So we are mostly small urban farms, primarily around an acre or a little bit smaller. I'm not here to talk about cooperatives, but I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that we are a cooperative. So in our case, the multi-farm CSA is owned by and run by the farms that are involved. Cooperatives are super cool, but I know that that's not what I'm here to talk about. But so some of the management things might look different if there's like a food hub or a distributor or someone running the multi-farm CSA. I will just the big caveat right off the bat is that one of the difficulties or ideally strengths of a multi-farm CSA is the fact that you have a lot of different characters with a lot of different opinions all working together. So I think that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together quote is really relevant in this circumstance. We have a lot of meetings. There's a lot of communication. There's not a lot of quick decision making. It's not, at least in our case, a quick growth situation. So if you're looking to turn a fast profit or grow a business really quickly, I'm not sure that, at least in a cooperative model, I could recommend it. But we have existed for over 12 years now and still going strong. So I think that speaks well to the business model. So just some really quick background. We were founded in 2012 with 5 farms and almost as many customers as we had farmers. In 2023, we expect to have over 100 households served, and we have 7 farmers that are owners of the cooperative and another few farms on top of that that are occasional suppliers. Our CSA has 2 pickup days, spanned over 5 different pickup locations throughout Metro Detroit. Just again, we were originally incorporated as a multi-party LLC, and then we reincorporated as a cooperative. I know that different states have different rules as far as how businesses can be incorporated. So I'm not going to talk any more about that, but can talk to your own lawyer or accountant. We have a gross income of about $45,000 per year. The suppliers last year earned anything from around $100 per farm to $15,000 per farm for produce sales. Some are just bigger operations or contribute more, and some contribute less. And then because we're a cooperative, we share our profits out in the form of dividends. So each farm got somewhere between $17 and $2,000 in dividends in 2023. So we're a pretty small operation. No one here is this their primary source of income, but it works really well for the sizes we're at and could certainly be scaled up. So just to sort of go really quickly through how our the rhythm of our year, you know, in the early winter, we start to sort of have our season of meetings and planning. You know, we debrief the previous season. We set the share prices or what the customers will pay, and where we're going to have our pickup locations, kind of all those details. We discuss what we are going to grow in the coming year. We have a big spreadsheet with a list of all the produce that we can think of, and people sort of volunteer what they're going to grow. We identify if there are any gaps in that. So, you know, and then either someone in the cooperative volunteers to be like, okay, yeah, I can put in a row of kale, or it's a matter of, you know, saying, okay, none of us are going to grow this. Let's like go find another farmer who is going to grow that and who might want to sell into the CSA. Also in that, you know, there's some things like say tomatoes that we want to make sure we have 2 or 3 growers on, because, you know, if you have a farm CSA and there's no tomatoes in the season, you're going to have some pretty upset customers. You know, there's some crops like, you know, say kohlrabi or whatever, that it's like, you know, it's okay if there's 0 growers or 1 grower on that crop, because, you know, they're not as essential to kind of the core produce mix, I guess. So we do all of that generally in like December, sometimes January. We also kind of go through and assign the like jobs to run the business, because again, we're a cooperative. We, you know, we do all of the bookkeeping, communications, logistics in-house, and so you know, we try and distribute those jobs in proportion to like how much produce someone sells into the business. So like the person who just, you know, sells a little bit of fruit every year and that's it, you know, they don't take on a huge amount of the you know, business jobs. But so we, in any event, we distribute all of those jobs. There's some continuity every year. I've been the bookkeeper for years and years and years. Some things we tend to mix around a little bit more as far as like who's going to be in charge of logistics. You know, those meetings keep going all winter and into the spring. Obviously, as the start of the season gets closer, we start to nail down more of our details as far as logistics. We're, you know, this is the season we're doing a lot of our marketing. We're about half full as far as the number of shares that we want to sell. And we also, as the growing season starts, keep each other up to date on how our crops are doing. There's just a ton, you know, all season long, there's just lots of communication, lots of emails back and forth. In the spring, we do a little bit of farmers market sales as a cooperative before our CSA starts. Our CSA runs mid-June through the end of October. So some of those early spring crops and transplant sales we do through the farmers market. We usually have one last meeting right before the CSA starts that we do at the location where we pack our CSA boxes. That way, you know, we can get all clean, you know, clean everything up, get organized, be sure that, you know, we're really ready to start. And that's also the time of year where, you know, communication with the customers really kicks into gear. We send out, you know, our member handbook, etc. And then, you know, that mid-June through October, it's a marathon. We're packing boxes twice a week. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what our kind of weekly rhythm looks like on the next slide. And then when our, you know, the season ends in late fall and we celebrate and we do a little bit of resting before, you know, the whole thing starts back up again. So during the season, during that mid-June through the end of October season, this is pretty much what our week looks like. On Thursday or Friday, everyone who is part of the CSA says what they think they will be able to harvest the next week. So, you know, I have 20 units of tomatoes. I've got, you know, 50 bunches of kale. We have standardized units for all the produce we sell, along with prices that go along with those units. And we communicate that to our harvest coordinator. We use a CSA software for that, which I will talk a little bit more about. Friday evening, our harvest coordinator, that's one of those jobs I was talking about, sort of builds the standard box for the coming week in our software. We also have like an online store and customizable shares. So that store opens for our for customers Friday evening. Monday morning, the harvest lists for the Tuesday harvest go out to all the farmers. So basically, we have all day Monday and Tuesday morning to get all that stuff harvested and washed and packed and ready to go. And then all the produce is dropped off at a central location by noon on Tuesday. It is dropped off like ready to go to the customers. We don't sort of all the wash and pack for our CSA is done by the farmer. And then usually a farmer and sometimes a couple customer volunteers pack the boxes. And they're usually done by about 3 in the afternoon, and then they are dispersed to all our pickup locations for evening pickup. And then the same sort of thing goes on for our weekend pickup. The harvest lists go out to each farmer Thursday morning. So that way they have all of Thursday and Friday morning to do the harvest and pack. And then those boxes are packed up by Friday afternoon, and they go out to all the various locations. So we use a software called Local Food Marketplace. We've tried a couple different things, and so far this is the one that is working best for us. It can be hard if you're looking at CSA software that's available. Not a lot of them necessarily work for multiple farms. So that's something, if you're looking to use this model, that I can recommend. We used to just do it in spreadsheets, which worked out okay, but didn't allow for customers to be able to customize their boxes. So that we have found to be, customers really like that. It also allows us to have an online store, and if we ever decided to like go into like wholesaling as a cooperative to restaurants, that's something that Local Food Marketplace could support, but that's not something that we've pursued yet. We do, as a cooperative, buy some of our like packing supplies, like we buy produce bags as a group. We take care of like the waxed boxes. Those are all expenses that are borne by the cooperative, by the multi-farm CSA. And then some stuff each farm purchases for themselves. But we've sometimes had like, you know, opportunities to buy stuff in bulk. Like we bought a lot of nice harvest bins last year as a cooperative, and that we just distributed to all the farmers. So that's something that's fluctuated a little bit over the years. Having a good way for all the farmers to communicate with each other is really key. Sometimes during the week, like if, you know, I said I was going to bring, you know, 50 pounds of kale, to pack on Friday, and then a deer comes and eats all my kale. You know, being able to like send a text message or an email to everyone and be like, hey, I'm supposed to bring 50 bunches of kale. I can't do it anymore. Is there someone else in the group who can fill in that that gap? And also just, you know, throughout the season, one of the nice things about being part of a multi-farm CSA is just like having, you know, just like the emotional support from each other. Sometimes like getting help, like, you know, last year someone's hoop house was damaged in a windstorm. And so we all like went out to, you know, to re-pull the plastic and repair it. So yeah, so just having constant communication. We try, you know, a lot of it's done over email and text. We try to meet face to face once every, you know, 6 weeks or so, just to kind of talk about what's going on. You know, if someone has a fall crop that's failed, we try and figure out how we can fill in those gaps, all that kind of thing. We also do some, besides kind of our core produce boxes, we do a flower bouquet. We also have like an add-on storage share that people can do, where they get like an extra big box at the end of the season with storage crops. And then the Saturday before Thanksgiving, we do like a bonus box that's full of a bunch of, you know, kind of seasonal goodies. So we've talked about a lot of these, but, you know, the big advantages to having a multi-farm CSA creates a lot more variety for customers. It helps to even out the season, you know, even if I don't have anything fresh and ready to go on my farm this week, you know, there's 4 other people who do. It helps to share the burden of all like the logistics and bookkeeping. It allows you to take a vacation a little bit easier. It also, in like a multi-year kind of way, allows people to take a sabbatical. You know, one of our farmers is actually getting her law degree, and so like she's taking the bar this summer, so she will not be farming, but you know, the business persists without her there. It also allows people to play to their strengths. You know, I don't have to grow everything. I'm not good at growing everything, but I can grow the things that I'm really good at and grow a bunch of them. It also, you know, we can all be better at making decisions together. And it allows a little bit more economies of scale, like buying those harvest bins together. Challenges, I mean, you do have to compromise. You know, we spend a lot of time talking about prices, where we want our pickup locations to be. We often don't agree. We often, you know, people come away from the meetings not feeling entirely satisfied with the decisions that were made. Tons of communication, like I said. It can be a lot of meetings. It's slow decision making. You're not going to pivot on a dime. And also just, you know, it is really important to have all the roles assigned to people, because it can also, you know, in some of our years, especially when we were getting started out, it's like it was no one's job to make sure that we always had enough, you know, packing supplies, which meant that no one was keeping track of if we had enough boxes. And then suddenly it was, you know, mid-September and we had run out of boxes. And, you know, no one, if you don't assign a job to someone, then there's no guarantee that someone will do it. So yeah, that's the basics. I'd love to answer any questions that folks have.
Thank you very much. Oops. I'm muted. Okay. What was that? Can you describe your location?
Yeah, all our farms are located in the city of Detroit. So we're all urban farmers. Like I said, you know, that generally means like pretty small scale. You know, probably our largest farm is like, I think a little bit less than 3 acres. So yeah, all in inner city Detroit.
Any other questions? Are you related to Hughes Bagley, the famous livestock buyer from Sioux City?
I
Hopefully.
don't think so. No, all my Bagley relations are from New England.
How do you deal with issues of liability when you have, I heard CSA, I heard co-op. How do you deal with issues of liability or like things like food safety with the different members? Kind of assuming some of that liability.
So I think I caught most of that question. So for liability, I mean, all of the farms that are a part of it, you know, carry their own liability insurance of one kind or another. And then the business itself, as you know, is incorporated as a cooperatively owned produce distributor. We don't have any liability insurance right now. That's probably something we should look into as we've grown quite a bit over the past few years. Yeah, I guess that's all I have.
Any other questions? Okay, and then if anybody wants, they can reach out to me and I can get you her email, or if you want to take a photo of the screen so you've got her email address. Otherwise, thank you so much for sharing your system with us today and presenting. Thanks, Alice.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.